Okay, good morning, culinary arts students. Welcome back to class. We are, as you can see on the screen, we are in week 6 of the semester. So we are here at the 28% mark for the semester. Um, I'm going to scroll back. So one of the goals of today is if you could stick with me. Unfortunately, I need to cover a vast amount of content that we missed during the time that I was in the hospital related to just wrapping up kitchen safety and operations and food safety sanitation. So I'm going to actually, you'll notice that we're 28%. A reminder that we have a grading term 1 or term now 4 deadline for the academic year, fast approaching here on 315 grades are completely up to date in Google Classroom and Skyward. But the caveat is this: I will input zeros by Wednesday of this week for any assignments, ed puzzles, and otherwise that are outstanding. And so I'll begin that practice and continue it for the remainder of the semester as to ensure your grades don't appear to be inflated. So just a reminder that by Wednesday of this week, I'll have the zeros and put it in the grade book for any incomplete assignments. Again, I don't penalize for late submission of assignments, but I would urge you, if you have a particular grade goal in mind that you want to have in hand by the end of term 4, which is this Friday, I just encourage you to get those assignments completed by this Friday. We did have a good number of assignments that were due over the last couple of weeks. The group folder setup we did to share photos. We had the kitchen operations and safety quiz that we completed. If you completed that and after I finish that content, you feel like that the score that you have, you could have done better, feel free to reach out to me and I'd be glad to reset that for you at no penalty. We had the hand washing lab that we submitted last week. The chef of the week schedule is something that we'll do this week sometime, and I'll be walking through that probably tomorrow or at the latest of Wednesday. We're going to stay on schedule with our labs this week. The goal is to keep us on schedule so that we have the hands-on activities happening, and I'm trying to just crunch in this this foundation's information as well to ensure that we've got a good, solid foundation built as we go into the semester. So Ruby Food Safety, the Food Safety Pre-Quiz should have been completed, and then I will encourage you to complete the Food Safety Post-Quiz later on this week to get that wrapped up. And then obviously the series of measuring quizzes that happen over the duration of 3 weeks, that as well is due here this week and next week, and there was one due last week. Okay, so I'd urge you, if you're doing the measuring quiz, I would urge you to go ahead and take the handout and use it as a guide during that learning process. Before you do the assessment, study the guide, and then as those questions come up in the measuring quiz, I'd ask that you complete those using that as a resource so you can be most successful. So just a reminder, earpods need to be out, right? Earpods need to be out, please, and devices away. Stick with me during the lecture. This is probably the last long lecture we'll have for the semester, unfortunately, but I need to get the content wrapped up from the previous portion of the semester that I was sick and in the hospital. So we're going to go ahead and just pick up from here. So jumping on in again, and I'm going to move pretty fast. We want to wrap up kitchen safety and operations. We have some video overviews of restaurant industry employment opportunities that I'll show later on in the semester. As it relates to culinary arts program dress code, again, we're dealing with kitchen safety and operations. Closed-toed shoes, full pants, and no tank tops or crop tops during lab days. So for baking and pastry, that means Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. For culinary, that means Wednesday, Thursday. Obviously, you want to be in compliance with the school dress code all of the time. The chef of the week is an important part of your learning experience in this class, and I'll be walking through that later on this week, what that means related to your learning. And so the chef of the week, starting the lab probably next week, we will begin exercising chef of the week, and so you'll have a leader on your team that we will be assigned, and you'll create that schedule this week, and that person will be in a chef coat. And the chef coats are stored. If you look at me, they're in the back room, okay, on the left side in the drawers, okay? And the drawers are identified with sizes, okay? Um, the other thing I want to make mention of the importance of hygiene. It's super critical that you're coming to class showered, groomed, and clean. It's a tough conversation to have when a student doesn't practice good hygiene. I know we've all had students in our classes that maybe have had barriers in that area, and I just want to encourage you to stay clean because we're dealing with food, and it's hard enough sometimes when you're dealing with foods that you don't prefer or don't like, but then to have that added variable of aroma, as hard as that is to discuss, I just want to encourage you to be coming to class clean, showered, groomed, nails trimmed, and in the appropriate attire, as I said before. All right, moving on. Kitchen safety. So I'm going to quickly, um, unfortunately, I'm going to move through. Uh, I'm going to move through that video. That is a resource that's in Google Classroom if you want to watch that one. This one I am going to go ahead and play very quickly here.
See how many hazards you can spot in this walkthrough. See how many hazards you can spot in this walkthrough.
All right, bear with me here. A little audio challenge here.
See how many hazards you can spot in this walkthrough.
Observe going to the kitchen. What are the hazards that can be identified?
Did you catch them all? Let's back up and see if we can do it safer this time. That looks like a tripping hazard. Better put it back where it belongs. Dish towels aren't much protection from a hot pan. Oven mitts are a safer bet.
And we use side towels as well. Just make sure that the white towels remain dry all the time. The green towels are for cleaning. They can get wet.
Let's clean this up before someone slips and falls. Ouch! What's a sharp knife doing in this open?
We made a change and we're now storing the knives on the wall so that they're a little bit more isolated and away from activity. And then as well, having them in a drawer is a little bit more unsafe because you can reach in the drawer and get cut. Another reminder related to knife safety that you want to practice is never putting knives in the sink. Typically, my rule in this classroom is you use a knife and then you clean it and put it away immediately as soon as you're done with use. So you should never even set it down. Just go ahead and go right to the cleaning process. Don't set it down in the sink for sure, and don't even set it down by the sink. Just use the knife and clean it and put it away.
Drawer. A step stool is more stable for reaching a high shelf.
So as a reminder to lecture last week, we have a stepping stool in the back room behind the door in the storeroom.
Let's store this knife on a rack where it can't hurt anyone. Always clean up spills as soon as they happen.
We've got the option of brooms. You'll notice by Station 3, there's 2 brooms with dustpans located there. There's one in the back room as well. If for some reason we need just a small amount of liquid cleaned up, you can use a towel. If you need more than that cleaned up, we'll go ahead and get a mop from the custodian. All right, good job. Okay, composting practices. You're going to notice in the middle of the room, the center of the room, you're going to see a green bucket, okay, that looks like this on the screen. That green bucket is our composting bucket. So all of our food waste gets located in that bucket. Egg shells, protein, whatever it might be that's excess and being discarded, you can put in the compost bucket. We'll take it out on a daily basis and clean it. You'll notice at the composting bin location, when we need to take compost outside, you'll see there's a fenced area directly out of our door to the right. There's green cans back there, and on occasion I might ask you to take the compost out. And then you need to make sure you pour the compost into a can that has a liner, right? A plastic uh, composting liner, compostable liner inside the can. All right, that's important to ensure that we're following the right procedures there as we align to partner with food service. You got black cans throughout the classroom that are just regular waste or trash. That anything that has a food residue on it would be thrown away in the regular trash for landfill. And then you've got two blue cans, one in the front of the kitchen up here by the front entrance across from the door, and then another one by the monitor on station 4. Those are two recycling locations for paper, plastic that needs to be cleaned, no food residue on it. And then there's as well a glass bin located by the front entrance. That is not picked up by the school, but I take that home periodically and recycle it. We also have Lomi. I don't have it in use right now, but we will be putting it into use a little bit later when we get into food production. And this is a composting machine. Right now, it's stored in the location between station 5 and 6, and it's just a machine, literally, that we put food scraps into. And overnight, it'll process those food scraps into basically what looks like soil by the time we come in the morning, and then we'll send that back to the agriculture department to put on their gardens to fortify the gardens. So you'll be seeing the Lomi in practice later on this semester.
In this video,
I'm going to go ahead and skip over the composting practices. I want to talk briefly about sustainability. So as I said, glass goes in the glass bin by the front door. Mixed recycling, you're going to see here is paper, plastic that's cleaned, cans that are clean, lids taken off, even aerosol bottles. You just spray them upside down until the aerosol is completely removed, and they're recyclable. All these items on the screen, milk cartons, yogurt containers, sour cream, tin cans, are all recyclable so long as you clean them of any food residue. Okay, you've got here food waste only, right? All the food items will go in our composting bin, and it'll take protein, meat, it'll take fruit, vegetables, grains, legumes, dairy. All of that can go in the composting bin. Regular garbage, right, is anything that's soiled: clam shells, plastic, styrofoam, any type of like potato chip or food packaging, plastic lids, so on and so forth that have food particles on them. A lot of the to-go containers, we think they're recyclable, and even though there's a number on the bottom, often they're not. So if you have questions about that, just ask me, and I'm glad to help you sort that out. All right, Clark County Green Schools. I'm going to go ahead and skip over that for, again, the sake of time. And there's a resource. If you go to Clark County's webpage, if you have curiosities about recycling at home, you can punch in your address and get information about when trash is being picked up, and also get the information about what goes in what bin. Okay. This is an initiative, Reduce Food Waste, that took place, and there's a lot of opportunity for growth, I think, in our sort of capitalistic society. Food that's being discarded that isn't even expired, just because one can or one bottle in a box gets broken open, the whole case gets thrown away. So there's a lot of national initiatives right now about how to take that food and to have it serve to overcome food insecurity issues in different communities. So I'd encourage you to feel free to click back and look at that if you're interested in that. We're going to go ahead and keep moving forward. As I said, I'll be inputting the zeros in the grade book by Wednesday of this week and updating the grades in Skyward and doing a grade report out on Friday. I'm going to go ahead and move right into wrapping up kitchen safety and operations. We've already dealt with the quiz and looked at these posters as a resource. Feel free to reference them. They're on the west wall of the classroom. Feel free to use those as a resource throughout the semester, dealing with lifting, slips and falls, chemical usage, carrying items together, equipment, large equipment usage, knife handling, and just general safety procedures. Use those as often as you would like. We've, again, skipping over this activity for the sake of time and moving into what we would have covered last week in the semester. And unfortunately, we don't have time to do the food safety showdown, so I'll be skipping over that. Just to get the instruction out, I want to get the food safety and sanitation out today, which will give you the opportunity then to take the food safety quiz if we have time today or later on this week. Here's my dog. I will be doing, I put this in as a reminder, if you're interested in taking the food handler's card test. Probably this Friday, I'll be set up to have anybody who wants to take the food handler's card test, and we'll pay for it. So I think it's a $10 fee. If you're interested in having that fee waived because you're considering taking a job in the restaurant industry, Friday will be the day, and I'll email out a code and I'll give you ample time during class on Friday. It will displace the time that you're working on your SLAT this week. So I'd encourage you to, if you're going to do the food handler's card test, I'll have you be in another quiet location to complete that, probably across the hallway, and then you want to be able to work on your SLAT at a different time in order to get that turned in. So my daughter was doing the test, and my dog was helping her out. It's pretty funny. Okay. There's food safety posters up on the wall above Station 3. Again, I try to keep content that I use for instruction accessible to you. So feel free to reference those posters all the time. You're dealing with food handling. In Washington, it's the Washington Food Code dictates that we need to have gloves on when we're doing ready-to-eat food contact. It deals with time and temperature abuse. All of those types of knowledge-based information is up on those posters on the wall, and I'm going to talk about them a little bit more in detail right now. So, critical slide here. So I'd encourage you, if you want, take a picture if that would help you. Glove use, as I said, is not a substitute for hand washing in the state of Washington. The other thing is you don't want to have gloves on and be washing the gloves, right? We don't want to do that. So change gloves in between tasks and make sure you wash your hands in between changing gloves. And again, don't leave the classroom. You never want to have a guest in a service situation see you with gloves on. You always want to take your gloves off when you go to the front of the house. Wash your hands. If you go to the restroom as well, make sure you wash your hands both in the restroom and on your way back. Do not wear gloves away from the station. Example, in the industry, in the dining room would be one place to consider. Gloves are required, as I said, for ready-to-eat food contact. And as well, you can be smart about it and use utensils for that as well. You want to keep nails trimmed short and minimize the use of acrylics and everything. And you want to minimize your jewelry as well, especially when you get into the industry. There'll be policies around that in any organization. As a reminder, happy birthday song, sing it twice when you wash your hands with as hot as you can. Handle hot water and soap. The soap is in the dispenser on the wall. So don't use the hand soap for washing your hands. Just go ahead and use the soap, the hand soap that's designated for that. It's mounted to the wall behind your sink. And as I said earlier, double wash your hands. Leave the restroom, wash your hands in the restroom, and then wash your hands again when you come back, just because you might contaminate your hands on a doorknob or other surface. You want to make sure you do that. And critical, washing your hands after the use of chemicals, when you're sweeping and mopping, handling a broom handle or mop handle, taking out the trash or the compost bin, touching a cell phone, Chromebook, paper towel dispenser, doorknob, vase, hair, pen, pencil, whatever it might be. It's an imperative to wash your hands on a regular basis. Okay, as I said, glove use whenever you're having like a finished, ready-to-eat food contact, and typically this happens in my advanced class more than the intro classes. In the intro classes, typically you'll be using a utensil, but if you feel like you're in a situation that you're going to be handling ready-to-eat food, you should go ahead and use gloves. They're under my station, the demo table here. There'll be some boxes of gloves. They look like this. They're black, and they typically have a size annotation on it, and I'll have small, medium, large, and extra large gloves available for your use. Okay. Um, Moving right along, hand washing. Here's a quick video, just a good overview. This was when COVID kicked off. Alton Brown, he's sort of a theatrical chef, New England Culinary Institute graduate, created some good content.
When your hotel room is your bedroom,
show this really
and your
quickly.
living room, and your dining room.
Greetings, humankind. As we stand on the precipice of annihilation, I just want to say I'm happy that someone finally wants to talk about hand washing. I've been wanting to do a hand washing video for 20 years, but everybody was like, oh no, hygiene's boring. Do cheese pulls. Well, what do you think is going to save us now? Cheese pulls, nanorobots, lasers, hot yoga? I don't think so. What might just save us is the yardstick of civilization. Soap, okay? Not sanitizers, not the stuff you've been fighting over in drugstore parking lots, but good old-fashioned soap. And here's why. First, you lather up your mitts with soap and water, you release Amphiphiles, molecules in soap that have hydrophilic or water-loving heads and hydrophobic or water-hating tails, which means these guys can hold things together that don't naturally get along, like oil and water. Okay, now if you're a Good Eats fan, you'll recognize this as an emulsifier, which is not to say that when you wash your hands, you're making salad dressing, although it is kind of like salad dressing. All right, look, here is the part that's important. Let's say you get a nasty on you, maybe coronavirus, okay? It probably arrived in something gooey like spit or snot or something greasy that got flung up on you or you picked up when you touched something you shouldn't. However you got it, now you're stuck with it. But with proper agitation, amphiphiles in soap water can emulsify with this nastiness, removing it from your skin and escorting it down the drain. But wait, there's actually more. A virus, like coronavirus, is protected by a kind of coat made of fat-like substances, and soap's amphiphiles can just literally take hold of that coat and pull it away, leaving the virus feeling naked and afraid, and mostly dead. Okay, now alcohol-based sanitizers can kill viruses, but since they can't emulsify the nastiness that you got on your hands, they can't physically remove the viruses or even actually reach them all, which is why I count on soap. Meet me at the sink. All right, let me say right up front, liquid soap is okay.
All right, and just I want you to note the rigor in his process, how he washes his hands, how he lathers the soap. This is all important to ensure that we're washing our hands correctly.
Bar soap is more efficient, not to mention less impactful on the environment. Now, I know what you're going to say. Well, bacteria can get on the bar. Yeah, but there's never been proof ever that a bar has reinfected someone, because after all, bacteria and viruses hate soap. Now, here's the regiment that I follow when I'm traveling or when I'm beset by a global pandemic. I carry my soap with me in a little tin because I don't know what's in that nasty pump bottle at the airport. And no, this is not antibacterial soap because antibacterial soap is useless for reasons we'll discuss another time. Also, I carry with me a bag, a zip top of paper towels because proper drying can help reduce bacterial and virus populations. And I don't like that hot jet thing on the wall at the airport that blows like poop air on you. Okay, now you've heard about the 20-second wash rule. We'll say hello to the 30-second wash rule. All right, hot or cold water doesn't matter. If you turn on the water with your arm, that's fine. If not, use your hand because you're going to wash it anyway. Now, okay, get your hands nice and wet, grab the soap, and vigorously lather for a 5 count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, soap down. Now, wring your hands like Mr. Burns for a 5 count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now work the back of each hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, then curl your fingers like this and go after the nails. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then in between your fingers for a final 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, now rinse the soap. Put that back in the box. And then rinse the hands for a good 5 seconds. This is critical if you want the nasty stuff off of you and down the drain. Turn off the water without direct contact if you can, or you could dry if you must and then use the towel to turn off the water, but that does waste a bit of water. So, I lied. It was more like 45 seconds, and I do this like 5 times a day, and you know what? I feel fine. Now, is this method guaranteed to keep your hands virus-free? No.
All right, no guarantees, but obviously best practice. Lather, good friction in the process is the most important thing. Okay, moving right along. Food safety and sanitation. We've been working on that over the last couple of weeks. You should have had that submitted. Okay. We already know how to enroll in Ruby courses. All the large courses have already pre-enrolled you in. If you have a food safety lesson or a course, or I'm sorry, if you have a lesson in Ruby, that one you're gonna have to go to the lesson library once you click into it, and you'll go ahead and select the particular lesson that we're assigned to for that week. Okay, it's going to be a little bit different. It won't be automatically there on your dashboard. Okay, moving right along. Again, covering the importance of personal hygiene, washing our hands, showering daily, washing debris under your nails on a daily basis, shampooing your hair, brushing your teeth, all really important to consider in order to first, make sure that you're representing yourself well, but then also considering the people that are around you. When we're dealing with avoiding cross contamination, again, we're talking about food safety now. This is the most important standard, essential standard per our state standards in the culinary arts program. So there's three different types of contamination that happen with food. So pests in food are an example of a physical or even a biological contaminant. Food to food can be cross contamination, like from raw chicken to salad. Okay, and that would be a biological contaminant. And then chemicals in food as well. So really, you want to make sure that you're thinking about the use of food and how to avoid it being mixed with things that shouldn't be mixed with it. So again, you've got the three different types of contaminants: biological, physical, and chemical. Chemical are examples, as the previous slide said, the pesticides, herbicides, those types of things. Physical contaminants, as I told you, that wad of saran wrap that was in that sandwich that I ate, that was an example of a physical contaminant. Metal shards, like if a screw falls off a piece of equipment and ends up in the food, that would be a physical contaminant. And then biological, or any type of viruses, if you sneeze into the food, that would be an example of a potential biological contaminant. You can see some physical contaminants. Here's a rubber bushing of some sort and a chicken nugget. Here's some hair in the food, a good example of a physical contaminant. And then lastly, here is an interesting physical contaminant. It's a chicken head that went through the deep frying process, okay, was breaded and fried and came through and was served in a McNuggets package, okay? So that would be a good example of a physical contaminant. Okay, you got the cycle of food to consider. It's very important to be aware of how to avoid cross-contamination throughout the flow of food, from when I buy it at the store to when I unload it, to when I bring it in, to how I store it, to how it gets to you, to how you handle it, to how you store it, and then to how you prepare it, are all examples and opportunities for exposure throughout the cycle of food. So you want to be thoughtful, even at home, thinking about how you get that food at the grocery store. You shouldn't just leave it in the car for hours. You should take it inside. It's always good to have like an insulated food bag to transport cold food in so that it stays cold. Okay, those are all good practices. I think COVID helped increase our awareness about like shopping and how to do it better. And I think the insulated bags have really increased in popularity. Food labeling is important. One of the reasons that we have the food bins on your station is to isolate your food. So each individual package doesn't have to be labeled, but you can go ahead and we have a food labeling system on my demo area. But for the intro classes, I just encourage you, when we need to label something, use blue tape. All right, if it needs to be stored out at room temperature, you can use blue tape. I've got blue tape on the student station as well on my station, and just a black pen. Labeling the containers in the industry is an imperative, making sure that we avoid cross-contamination and can help rotate food. First in and first out is a standard in the industry. FIFO. Everybody say FIFO? FIFO, right? So FIFO is the standard, okay, for rotating our food. So whenever we get new food, we put it behind the old food, so the old food gets rotated and used first, okay? So FIFO, that's an example of a question that's on our quiz. Okay, related to food storage, this is coming right out of Ruby here, this image. And just remember that poultry is going to be stored on the bottom when it's raw, ground meat, seafood, whole roasts, and then you get into dairy like eggs, and then produce, and then cooked foods. From bottom to top, this is sort of the imperative, because we want the highest risk foods to be stored on the bottom, okay? The ones that have the most probability of damaging other food, and then we move up from there. The temperature danger zone, I'm going to show you a quick video on this. This is basically just walking through what is the range of temperature that increase the most risk of bacterial growth in our food.
It's time for an extra serving of food safety information from foodsafetymarket.com. Your essential guide to the temperature danger zone. Dangerous germs that make people sick can grow very fast on food that sits in the temperature danger zone. Keep food out of the temperature danger zone as much as possible. Reheat cooked food to 74 degrees Celsius, 165 degrees Fahrenheit.
So 165 for reheat, that's an important temperature to remember.
Keep hot foods above 60 degrees